welcome you to this third webinar activity of Commission of Higher Education, Region 11, in partnership with the Council of Educators and Deans of Arts and Sciences and Davao-based Psychologists. We bring you this free webinar entitled, What I Am Feeling, Understanding and Coping with Emotions During the Pandemic. I am Mr. Gerson John L. Trosio, a licensed psychologist and the program head of the BS Psychology program of the Samal Island City College and Island Garden City of Samal. And I will be your master of ceremony and moderator at the same time. 143, 71, 68, and 47 are the important numbers today. Well, it's been 143 days when China reports to WHO about COVID-19 outbreak in Wuhan City in China last December 31, 2019. 71 days when the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 as pandemic last March 11, 2020. And it's been 68 days since President Duterte declares ECQ in Luzon last March 16, 2020. And imagine, today, 47 days, we are staying in our home. When Davao City Mayor Inday Sara declares the start of ECQ last April 4, 2020. I know, I heard you right, no? It's been a long time since we've been staying in our home and doing the things that we do not usually do. But the question now is not on the numbers, but on how are we doing right now? What is our current feeling? And how do we see our future? So these are the questions that we seek to answer during this webinar. So to formally start the program, please prepare yourself as we entrust this webinar to our maker. May I request Dr. Lisa C. Suwan, CHED, Region 11, Education Supervisor 2, to lead us in prayer.
Let us pause for a moment and feel the presence of God in our midst. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we praise and thank you for this day. Thank you for the gift of love and for the gift of life. Thank you so much for all the blessings that you have given to each and everyone. Thank you for the unconditional love, the unending care, and constant protection. Bless each and everyone who are gathered today. Bless our organizers, our speakers, and our participants. Amidst the challenge of COVID-19 health crisis, may you continue to grant us wisdom and understanding so that whatever will be learned today in this webinar on what I am feeling, understanding and coping with emotions during the pandemic will be applied in our daily activities, in our home, and in our new normal teaching and learning environment. We return all the glory and honor. This all we ask in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Suwan, for the prayer. To set decorum and smooth flow of communication, may we remind you of the following guidelines via audio presentation. May I request Sir Rod to present the guidelines for this webinar.
Here are the webinar participation guidelines. Please use your laptops, headphones and cameras. Enter the Zoom meeting room, turn on your video cameras, and check your audio and video quality 10-15 minutes before the session. Type your full name, institutional affiliation, and designation in the public chat space. You may also opt to write your comments or questions to the speakers at any time in the public chat space. All encoded, received questions will be gathered and answered during the Q&A session. For technical and quality purposes, only the speakers will be able to use their microphones during the session. In case that all participants' questions cannot be answered during the webinar, the speakers and moderators will make sure to answer all remaining questions by email. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that quick and concise guidelines. For our viewers via Facebook Live, you may also send your question via the comment section, and one of our team will facilitate the hearing of your question. One anonymous quote mentioned, "A man without education is like a building without foundation." It's true enough. Another anonymous quote says, "Teachers are builders of the nation that sets the foundation." Well, whether we agree or disagree to this anonymous statement, mine, what is certain is as educator, we take action for the new generation. But how can this be possible despite of our current situation? Well, luckily, in response to this impending situation, the Commission of Higher Education of our region foresee the situation and act accordingly. Thus, to formally open this program, help me welcome our CHED Region 11 Director, Dr. Maricar R. Quisquejo, CESO 3, for sharing her vision in her opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My acknowledgement to our resource person for this afternoon, Dr. Rhodora K. D. Ilagan, Program Head of the Psychology Department of the Ateneo Davao University, at the same time, CHED 11's RQAT member for Psychology Program. My acknowledgement also to all of you, wherever you are, who are watching, listening this webinar. I hope all of you are still in the best of health. Today's webinar entitled What I Am Feeling, Understanding and Coping with Emotions During the Pandemic is our third and is still part of CHEDRO 11's assistance in the retooling of the HEI's personnel. But this is a break from the two previously conducted, which were more technical and targets the hard aspects. This webinar will help participants to better understand and cope up with their emotions in this time of pandemic. As we commemorate CHED's 26th founding anniversary in this month of May, we find it necessary to give more importance on the procedural, physical, technical, or hard, but also include all other aspects, including psychosocial or the soft aspects, so to speak. We are conducting this in partnership with the Council of Educators and Deans of Arts and Sciences and the Davao-based Psychologist, and the generosity of Dr. Gail Ilagan. Our sincere gratitude to your group. Thank you to Dr. Cesar Adeque IV, Engineer Rod Pangantihon, both education supervisors of this office and your team for doing a great job in spearheading the conduct of this third webinar. Thank you again, Sir Kenneth of the CHED Central Office for the Zoom account. For those who cannot log in the Zoom, we have reached the 300 registered participants. We are live in Facebook, and CHEDRO 11 is compiling the webinars conducted by our office for this to be accessible in our website as resources for our interested HEIs and faculty members. Thank you also for the CHEDRO 11 technical team headed by Dr. Luis D. Perez and the administrative team headed by Dr. Emma K. Bonsobre for supporting this initiative and for believing that our office needs to do something no matter what the constraint is. Please attend again, or may we have your support and participation to our next webinars. Privacy in the Academe in time of COVID-19. We will conduct this with the University of Southeastern Philippines as CHED Center for Information Technology Education. As CHED 11 continues to serve its stakeholders and as we continue to live by our tagline, we find solutions. We are hoping for your usual support and cooperation to whatever initiative our office do, especially in these trying times. While taking into account the safety of our personnel, students, and other stakeholders, and without compromising the quality of the learning experiences of the students and our commitments to academic excellence. Together as one united institutions of higher education in Region 11, we will cope and survive this pandemic. Thank you everyone for making yourselves available. Happy anniversary, CHED. Have a productive webinar and keep safe always.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Casquejo, for sharing that vision and your continuous support and guidance. And happy anniversary for CHED. Now, the long wait is over. To formally introduce our resource person, may I invite Dr. Cesar A. Adige, the fourth CC CHED Region 11 Education Supervisor, to introduce our resource person.
Our resource person, this afternoon's webinar, entitled, What I Am Feeling, Understanding, and Coping Emotions During the Pandemic, is a registered psychologist, a certified specialist of social psychology, and a program head of the psychology department of Ateneo, Davao University. She is also an invited CHED 11 Regional Quality Assessment Team member for Psychology Program. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our resource person, Dr. Rhodora Gail T. Ilagan.
But thank you for this opportunity to be of service to our colleagues. Thank you, CHED, for organizing this webinar, no? Especially to Dr. Maricar Casquejo, Dr. Cesar Adige, Dr. Lisa Swan, and Dr. Luis Perez, and also kay Angeli Rod Pangantihon. Thank you also for giving me this platform to help educate on the soft sciences, kumbaga, attached to what we are all going through now. And I wish to, whatever I do, I do it with my colleagues. They're always there for me. And today, those who set this up, si Gerson Trosio, Joyce Tupas, and Mabel Levin, thank you so much for your assistance. And I beg your patience because, I don't know, maybe ever so often, I'm going to hit some IT challenge again. Please be patient with me. Because, okay, I hope you have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that I sent over, so you can follow through, no, as we go through this. So in slide 2, the world has changed. The rules have changed. It's been, well, Gerson ran us through some of the figures earlier. 47 days since we entered into enhanced community quarantine in Davao. Maybe, I don't know, a lot longer in some other areas, but not so much naman pala. But it seems like the world as we know it has changed, no? And what has changed is that the mere act of breathing, which is so necessary for all of us to sustain our lives, of course, has now required so much rules. Rules where to breathe, rules when to breathe, rules how to breathe and where. Well, if I call it the politics of respiration actually. And if that is not enough to bring us all to the point of existential crisis, I don't really know what will. No, the question of where do you breathe and how do you breathe, that's why I like it out here in the open. This global health crisis that we are all facing, this is unprecedented. So there's so much information that we don't know. They say this is a war with an invisible enemy. I tune into this guy on ny.com almost, well, actually every day. I tune in to Andrew M. Cuomo, the New York governor, for some sort of relief that despite what we are going through, here is somebody who really tries to be on top of things, to familiarize himself with information as it comes and try to put together the response that is needed in order to address this um, emerging situation, try to make it better. So yeah, uh, it's when we look for people in authority, we'd like to have somebody who understands what the resources are and how to get people to address this threat that we are facing. So we are like soldiers, and as some of you know, um, I am a military psychologist, so I understand soldiers, and I understand that when a soldier confronts an unknown threat, he doesn't know how strong it is, where it is coming from. He doesn't also know how to defeat it. We are in a similar situation. So we watch our leaders, our health authorities, they scramble to try and save as many of us, but they also don't understand fully where the threat is coming from or who is at risk. We see their efforts sorely lacking then in saving us all. No, they can't save as many as we would wish. We yearn for some measure of reward also while we are all trapped in our homes. Over time, we yearn for some measure of reward for complying for so long with what we had hoped to be temporary sacrifices. We did not know that this was going to go on for so long. So right about this time, okay, we yearn for what was. How things would have been so easier, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. But today, all these difficulties that we are going through, it seems like this is going to be a bit more permanent change for the foreseeable future. Gone is the world as we knew it, no? As the song goes. And we abruptly find ourselves, it's like, somebody pulled the rug from under our feet. We abruptly find ourselves living in this life-threatening environment without the period of training required of professions such as astronauts, infectious disease doctors, soldiers, firefighters, and some others for whom confronting lethal threat is part of their everyday life. We did not train for this. And so it is quite understandable that we are not prepared. This global pandemic, slide 4, has repercussions on our mental health. So if you take a look at, as soon as you're ready, you can switch the slide, please. All right. So Matt Damon, The Martian, a very young John Travolta in The Boy in a Plastic Bubble. I don't know who this pretty girl is, but that's a movie about somebody who is immunocompromised and she falls in love and runs away. So we are in a similar situation, no? We are forced to social distance. It puts us it puts us in a situation of social isolation, and that has repercussions on mental health. If it's any consolation, we are all in this together. We are in crisis together. And as most of us know, when somebody is in crisis, psychosocial support is very, very vital in assuring positive outcomes to mental health issues. So the situation that we are in now has this cruel irony that we have to keep apart. We know that it is psychosocial support, the support of other people, that would improve our chances of uh, surviving this and becoming, you know, psychologically well. But we have to keep apart. Okay, so two things there. No, as I was saying earlier, there are new rules that we need to learn, and surviving the situation, being in this situation, imposes new rules that basically erode two of our more important protective factors. Breathing is governed now by the politics of respiration, and psychosocial support. Okay? Social distancing is imposed. It's the moral thing to do. It's the right thing to do. But we also know that it exposes us at greater risk. It renders us vulnerable. So we have to be together, but apart. So support gihapon means the apart. Okay. But what are we feeling? So when you work with a psychologist, we ask, what have we been feeling in the last 2 months? So take a moment to check yourself, and I believe you have mechanisms here where you can raise your hand. So raise your hand if during this time, the last 2 months, you felt this way more than you generally did. In other words, we're looking for changes in how you feel. Okay? Have you felt slide 6? More than usual? Did you feel fear? Did you feel disappointment? So raise your hand ha, kasi bilangin ni Gerson yan. Did you feel confused? Did you worry? Are you worried? Do you feel grief? Are you sad? Are you in mourning? Do you feel anger? Or as we feel every now and then, and maybe more so now than at other times, do we feel overwhelmed? And that is all so normal. But we ask, what have you done? Because I asked you about troublesome emotions, things that, feelings that task taxes our ability to cope. Okay? What have you done about these troublesome emotions? How have you found relief? How have you expressed these distressing emotions? Did you take it out on others? Check yourself, huh? Because you might have done this. Did you take it out on others? Kayo-kayo na nga lang sa bahay. Did you? And I'm not guilty of this because I don't have Facebook. Did you vent unfiltered on Facebook, Twitter, etc.? Did you scare yourself silly by further tuning into all sorts of opinions and disinformation? Mag-inom ko Lysol. Alam mo, hindi ka pwede mag-inom ng Lysol. Ala ka. Mag-inom ko silver something. Anyway, If you're looking for sources, look for really authoritative sources. Ayaw anang sabi-sabi na. Which you scare yourself further because you're likely to scare yourself further. But it's also the reason why you do that is because there is this lack of information. So we're seeking a lot of information that can really guide us through this. It's not available, or if it is, it's really, really lacking. No? It's still an emerging situation. So, did you listen to political harang? Kahirap makinig sa news information lang talaga, no? Kasi may mag-input man talaga na some people really have that tendency to input their personal biases, and they awaken visceral reactions in other people and it on the listeners, and it kind of obfuscates the message that they are trying to get through. Ito, did you engage in our national pastime in finding who is to blame? I hope not. I hope you try to encourage calm and sobriety. But if you did any of these things above, we don't blame you. It's totally natural. Sometimes this is the way that we relieve stress. But I don't need to tell you this. Doing those things only makes things worse, right? And it really doesn't change the situation for the better. The external conditions where the problem is coming from, they don't change with these kinds of behaviors that we do. So we ask this question, the heart of this webinar, where does this feeling come? I think it is important that we understand where our emotions are coming from. So we can clear our minds, and if we can settle also our physical reactions and find more productive ways to cope with a radical shift that has upended our lives. We need to be able to think clearly, to apprehend each problem as it comes, and to deploy our resources to adapt and adjust, which is the essence of life and survival, to survive this science fiction movie that we are now all living. So we ask, where does fear come from? Fear or fright? You feel it as that cold feeling of dread that starts in the pit of your stomach and bleeds out to your veins. It's running icy. Now, fear is a stress reaction that primes us for our survival responses, which are basically fight or flight. When you feel fear, okay, so remember those times when you have felt afraid. When you feel this, it means that you register a life-threatening situation. Intimations of mortality. But then again, attend. You are not dead yet. There is hope that we can survive this. Habang may buhay, they say, may pag-asa. Now, what about disappointment and grief? Basically, they come from registering loss. No, we are disappointed because, well, we were scheduled to hold graduation ceremonies and we haven't been able to do it. It's a major milestone. I've been scheduled to, take a holiday, and now I can't do it. For now, think of it that way. For now, grief, that's a bit more painful. We mourn. We grieve for what has been, what may never come to be, what may never come to be again. Some of our friends, namatayan, we have lost some people with this pandemic. We have also lost our way of life. And for some, if you don't notice, yeah, it's beyond disappointment that we feel. We grieve. The memory of life as we know it after 2 months or so ago is still so fresh, and we yearn for it. That's just natural. We can't believe, we don't want to believe, that's gone. Some of us have lost someone to this invisible enemy. Some of us have been torn apart from our loved ones. Yung asawa ko, hindi ko nakita, or nakikita ko sa Zoom. Our mothers, I worry about her. I'm sure you worry about your parents too, your lolas, your lolos, our children, our dear friends. How are they surviving this? This is not easy on them too, and knowing that, our distress compounds. We wish to be able to reassure them. We also need to be reassured. Ooh, worry and anxiety. Well, this comes from an unexpected change when all the givens had seemingly fell off the face of the earth. Talk about the rug being pulled from under you. The things are not where they are supposed to be. Lost the resources. They come from the uncertain, unpredictable future that we perceive ourselves to sorely lack the resources or the ability to control our finances, our health, our exposure every time we break our social bubble to get what we need out there. Takot sa ibang tao. You just meet them on the street and you have to give them a wide berth. It's not, that's not the way we live, but it has to be for now. We become anxious about having to learn new skills to retain our jobs. Every day we hear about people losing their jobs or people who have been laid off. And while we may say, thank God I still have my job, you cannot really feel all that happy when you know that there is so much suffering and uncertainty out there. So we worry about that. The people we know and all the people in the world who live paycheck to paycheck and have suddenly lost their income, that list is endless. But if you can address what you can control, don't be too hard on yourself and on others. Just extend the timeline a bit. No, it's a new problem. We understand if you cannot solve it with a snap of a finger. Maybe it would take some time, but keep working at it. And don't be too hard on yourself. Just extend the timeline a bit for when you can manage what this new world seems to require. Turn it into a problem that you can break down one step at a time. And now let's confront anger. As you know, it comes from frustration. It comes from being held down. It comes from being disempowered to change our situation to our liking. Our usual remedies are not allowed anymore. We apprehend that the problem is bigger than us. The way forward as we have known it is barred. And maybe we don't have the key to unlock how to do things in this new world that we live in. Again, take a deep breath. Accept that we cannot solve all these in one day. But every day, there's something important here that we can learn. And yes, that's why I was saying that we need to turn it into break down that bigger problem into smaller tasks that we can do every day, so that every day there is something for us to celebrate as we go as we approach nearer and nearer the goal of solving the problem for all time. So the more troublesome emotions. I hope knowing where our emotions are coming from would allow us to recognize what triggers them. So we go back to the root, acknowledge the source of our distress, and find ways to be at peace somewhat with what we can control. Pat yourself on the back when you are able to solve a little problem that life brings to you today. And apprehend whatever new information that comes out there from hopefully very authoritative sources. Use it to reframe how we understand the world because it has changed. We can't insist on it being the same way it was before. It has changed. So take active part in understanding what has changed. Focus on the present. Use that new information in order to work to improve conditions for tomorrow. All right, so just one final word on emotions and why it is important to manage our emotional distress. Emotions affect our biology. Emotions also affect our cognition. When our negative emotions escalate, they affect how we eat, they affect how we sleep, they affect the levels of our stress hormones. They affect our perception also, they affect our judgment and decision making. And all those would feed back, spiral back to escalating our distressing emotions. So it becomes a very, very vicious cycle. And that's why we need to manage our emotions so that we can think a lot more clearly. So we need to break that cycle. Any change you institute in one aspect is likely to have a spillover effect in the other areas. You need to stay emotionally healthy, stay physically safe, and stay mentally well. My hope is that this will now be slide 21, but it's not yet. All right. So the hope is that the human species is resilient and has the faculties to evolve with the demands of this emerging environmental threat. Our hope is that the human community can evolve the means to help each other learn new ways and that we survive this pandemic stronger, better, and more appreciative of how precious every human life is. And finally, my last slide, I don't know if you have a copy of the PowerPoint. So I said, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well. And the next slide is some resources that I wish to share with you as we try to better grapple with the situation that we are all facing. Now, I understand that this is a series of webinars, and in the future, other colleagues would address some of the other psychological issues arising from this COVID-19 situation. I hope I have been helpful to you today, and thank you for being here. And if you have questions, I'd be happy to try to answer as best as I can. If not, there is a deep bench of psychologists here that are ready to answer your questions also. Thank you, everyone. Sure. Right, okay. So schedule your exposure to Facebook and the distress that you would get from the updates. physical activity. Stay outdoors as much as possible. Breathe in fresh air. I know that almost the big part of the day is spent in front of the screen. For some of us, ako po, I'm 53 years old. I am aware that at this point in life, the muscles that control the lens in my eyes are not so, they harden. They're not so flexible anymore. So every now and then, I really make the effort to look farther away. Social isolation could deaden our senses also. So try to stimulate your eyes, your ears, your skin. Use bath salts kung maligo. So because that's what we not know. Touch. Remember, it says if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. So experiment with fabric sniffing. What else can you do? With temperatures also, but try to be safe. And that's okay. Fill your mind with something a bit more constructive. Because you can only take so much. And if you're focusing on something which is more constructive, when you are being more mindful about the present, you find that the troubles have to go away. Matanggal siya sa load na short-term memory mo. So if only for the moment, try to do it. Breathing exercises. Now remember to push your breath down to your diaphragm. So that would also strengthen your lung capacity. Don't oversleep. Do you know that when you oversleep, the phlegm that builds up, we have this normal reaction to swallow it so that we can go back to sleep. Ilabas yan siya. Bangon ng umaga. Make your bed. It's a new day that the Lord has made. Recognize that. And dignify that. Honor that. Yan. So, yeah. Madami pa kayong magawa.
Yes. Yes, there are many things you can do indeed. But how about to be productive? Could that kind of contribute to feelings of stress? Like needing to be or wanting to be productive and doing many things in one day, because you know how most of us are actually working from home and there are a lot of demands of work that we need to deal with, right? How about that?
That applies to you, no? Well, you just still need to structure it. I know that working online, it's literally a 24/7 job, okay? But if we are reporting to the office, it's what? It's an 8-hour workday, tama?
Yeah.
So do you feel that you are shortchanging your employer if you work for 8 hours a day only? That is something we have to come to terms with. Because if technology is so invasive, okay, think about this. If you're working from home, you're paying for the kuryente, you're paying for the internet, you're paying for these things, okay? And it's true that you don't have to pay for your transportation to get to work, etc. So maybe that evens it out in the end. Because I do have a problem with this, ma'am. When I think about my teachers running online classes, I really would want to think, time and motion yan eh. How much time must a student devote in order to run classes? Traditionally, we understand it. You have some hour for preparation, 1.5 hours of class, and then probably a few more hours to check papers and etc. But if you put it all together, that's like what, a 30-40 hour work week. But if you're doing things the way we are doing things now, so many things are not in your control. Yung estudyante mo, walang internet. So, hindi man yan, and if magsabay-sabay kayo, it will also load up on the bandwidth and it affects the way class delivered. Yun. Go easy on yourself. Just try to structure your day. Don't be at the beck and call of technology. Structure your day pa rin and designate, because you are at home, it's your living space, but designate one area where that is your work area. Mine is under the trees. Thank you very much. Yun siguro. So you don't feel overwhelmed, and you don't have to address it immediately as it arises. I understand that Facebook, Twitter, that sort of thing, if you don't press reply or something, it means, it means people read something in your reaction. But we all have to be a bit more forgiving of each other at this time. The more important thing is that we're all in this together, and we are there for each other.
Thank you for that, Dr. Gail. There's another question. It says here, classes will start by August, and most of the schools resorted to blended modalities such as through online, through online education. So as college instructors, how can we be of help to our students who experience anxieties and fear during this time?
Mabs, what do you think?
Well, I actually track my students one by one, but that's me. I track them one by one, I check up on them, see how they're doing, take a look at the quality of the work that they submit and compare it to how their usual work. And if I see there's a difference, that's kind of a red flag for me to chat a little bit and say, how are you doing? Are you okay? Are you all right? It's just a matter of letting them know that you're there for them as their teacher, and that's what I do. And it's worked so far. So far, so good. So that's how I'm able to keep track of the mental well-being of my students.
And that's another way to define psychosocial support. There are ways that you can do it. But I especially like that question because it shows the heart of the teacher. Because this is about, this really is about the student. We are the adults. We are the ones to do the comforting. We are the ones to do the guidance. So I appreciate the question very much. Meron pa, Mavs?
Parang wala na.
All right.
I think
Happy to help today.
Thank you so much for joining us, Doc Gail. We really appreciate it. I turn you over to Gerson.
Sandali. If you check the first page, the first slide, you're going to find my email address there. If there's something that you need to ask, please email me at that email address. Huwag magalit if I don't reply kaagad, because that is also my work email. And there's, as you know, it's the work email that is getting a lot of traffic these days. But I'll get to your question as soon as I can.
Gerson, or are there more questions pa ba? Parang wala naman na. All right, Gerson.
Sir Gerson, pa-stop po ng screen sharing para makita po kayo.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Lemon, for that. We do have only 2 questions. Wala na bang ibang tanong? Doc, I have one question.
I will try to answer.
How do we foresee this new normal? I mean, as normal as possible. How can we understand this new normal conditions?
The new normal, it is still evolving. It becomes a new normal because the change has become more permanent. But even the changes are still evolving. Diba? Every time there's a new information coming along, we have to choose whether this is something that we need to respond to, or if we need to respond to this as a society or as an institution, as an organization. If you remember, when we start back in February, early March, tawanan pa natin yung naka-face mask, di ba? Because
Yes.
DOH said, oh, you don't need it. The general population does not need it. Those who need it are actually the first responders, etc. And if you keep buying these things, they will run out of this, and then we will be all in. And then it turns out that the politics of respiration would tell you that the masks actually work. So now we all have to use face masks. So it keeps evolving. It's there is always something new. There's a new information that comes out that we need to adjust to. We weren't trained for distance learning and online instruction. Okay? But who knows that this is not a temporary thing. This is going to be how we deliver from here on in, or until somebody really develops the vaccine that properly addresses COVID-19 infection. So until then, what we call new normal is really all these new changes to the way that we are doing things, that we are incorporating in our work, in our homes, in the way we engage each other, the way we survive this world. So we just keep saying new normal, no? Parang it's a hankering for going back to how it was. But the world has changed so much. It's not the same as it was. And it requires new rules that, all taken together, would be the new normal.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Doc, for that answer.
Anytime.
I hope everyone no, we learned something. And if you wish to have, you can always reach out us sa mga psychology practitioners dito sa Davao. We are quite madami na din.
Yeah.
So, madami na din tayo, Doc, ano? So,
and very generous, very helpful. That is something I can say to the community of psychologists. They really are ready to help, and they are so very competent. So, padayon.
yes.
Padayon.
And it's about time to enforce our presence, that we are here. We are already regulated, and we do have already our license. And we were trained. So if you have some concerns, you can always reach out to us. You can in Ateneo is our local chapter in Davao sa PAP po. So most of the licensed psychologists and psychometrician is part of the PAP, and our chapter is in Davao chapter, where Ateneo de Davao, Dr. Ilagan is our head. So anytime if you wish to reach out to us, feel free, and you can also reach out to us in mediums like Facebook. You can always search us. Okay, so again, thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Gail Ilagan. It was very wonderful.
Most welcome.
Pwede
Thank
bang
you for having me.
makahingi ng isang thumbs up sa mga participants? Okay ba tayo? Okay, okay. It's very good. Thank you. Thank you. So at this point, we are already in our last part. So to give us the closing remarks, please help me welcome Dr. Luis D. Perez, the Chief Education Program Specialist of Region 11 for the closing remarks.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, I intentionally put up my video because uh, while I am listening to our resource speaker, at the same time, I am also working here. No? Nag-office po ako ngayon. Andito ako sa CHED regional office po. At any rate, first of all, in behalf of the Commission on Higher Education, Regional Office 11, headed by our Regional Director, Dr. Maricar Casquejo, I would like to thank you all for actively participating, joining to this CHEDRO webinar entitled What I Am Feeling, Understanding and Coping with Emotion During the Pandemic. Of course, my special thanks to our resource speaker, Dr. Rhodora Gail Ilagan, the program head of the Psychology Department of the Ateneo de Davao University, and one of our RQAT members for psychology program. Okay? And I understand we are conducting this in partnership with the Council of Teachers and Deans of Arts and Sciences and the Davao-based psychologists. So our sincere gratitude to your group, Dr. Ilagan.
Most
And
welcome.
likewise, this webinar will not, of course, will not happen without the initiative in support of our Regional Director, Dr. Maricar Casquejo, in the cooperation of our education supervisors, Dr. Cesar Adigi, Dr. Rod Panantihon, and the rest of our education supervisors. So thank you, RD Casquejo, and to all my colleagues. This is our third, but certainly not the last, webinar in our office will be conducting. This will where we will be looking for another expert or resource-based person who can shed lights or talk about on data privacy in the academe in the time of COVID-19. So as mentioned earlier in the opening remarks of Dr. Casquejo. By the way, these webinar activities that we are conducting right now is also in commemoration with our CHED 26 founding anniversary in this month of May. So this is the way CHEDRO 11 is celebrating our 26th founding anniversary in this time of crisis. Kasi bawal pa po yung mass gathering for now. So last year, maganda yung founding anniversary namin because all of us went to Manila, no? All technical personnel and regional directors of the CHEDROS went to Manila, no? But this time, dito lang po tayo sa ating respective places because as I mentioned, bawal po muna ang mass gathering at this point in time. So as we continue to serve our stakeholder, we are hoping for your usual support in cooperation to whatever initiative our office will do, especially in the time of pandemic crisis. We know for the fact that COVID-19 pandemic affect not just the economy, but the education system of the country as well. No? And this crisis put dilemma to our policymaker, our school administrator by choosing between closing school in effect naman, reducing contact and saving lives, no? Particularly to our students, or keeping them open, but allowing workers to work, maintaining the economy, but many will be infected by the virus. So nandoon yung dilemma, no, ng mga policy makers natin at saka mga leaders. So the severe short-term disruption is felt many families around the world, so not just us, no, Homeschooling is not only a massive shock to parents' productivity, but also to children's social life, like, right? And learning while teaching is moving online on an untested scale. So again, as we brace again for the opening of school, colleges, and universities, university under the new normal, I quote new normal kasi kung meron palang new normal, no? Kasi ano to, abnormal tayo para ba? We are abnormal before, so we are now a new normal this coming school year 2021. So basically, there is so much needed work to review our educational policies and program rights and every learning institutions in all levels. So Filipinos will have to adjust to the new requirements as well of the school system from admission to graduation. So right now, sorry for our graduates na gusto pa naman siguro talaga magmarcha no uh, during the graduation ceremony together with the parents, but because of all these things, so wala ho muna tayong graduation for now. Oh. Anyway, at any right time pwede naman tayong mag-graduation, no? Mag-graduation ceremony kung wala na tayong crisis po. Our school administrators, teachers, faculty members need to develop more creative and engaging strategies to effectively deliver the lesson for the day. Students need to deal with schoolwork without the regular personal supervision of their mentors, and administrators need to ensure quality of instruction despite the limitation in access to technology and internet. So yun na po yung magiging situation natin under the new normal, no? So indeed, this new normal has brought to the four new opportunities and challenges that every educational leader must carefully reflect on and plan about to keep up with ways never imagined. Under the new normal, so meaning to say, this is a deviation from the usual things that we do, right? And we must embrace and practice it every day as this pandemic might persist even after the lockdown. No? So kahit na GCQ or ECQ tayo, until such time na wala pa yung vaccine, so hindi tayo pwedeng mabalik doon sa dating normal natin na situation. So there are new practices that we need to consciously every day until they become our second nature. So under this new normal, so the process has become more tedious as teachers need to also think about how to deliver lessons online. No? And this will take time and effort on the part of all school stakeholders. So the question now is, are we ready to take this on? So probably not all, right? Because teachers and administrators must understand the needs of students of this generation to include their personalities, learning styles, study habits, and interests. Kaya when we have a lockdown, kung alam nyo lang po, ang naming na-receive na mga letters complaint from the students. Ang dami po kaming na-receive na mga email. So this is probably the first time na, of course, the experience, no, this time of crisis, kind of crisis, no. Okay, this is important as basis for designing the academic program in the co-curricular and extracurricular activities of students, no. On the other hand, this new normal is also an opportune, so siguro may opportunity, no, opportune time for others to be gracious in sharing time, resources, and expertise with others, just as our resource speaker is doing right now. No? So college campuses are filled with brilliant, hardworking, and creative individuals who have a range of expertise, right? So this is a wonderful time to remember that we are a part of community of individuals who are strongest when we work together as this time of crisis. For example, if you have expertise on online teaching, so please take a few minutes, no, to share some tips and resources with colleagues who have never taught online classes. So there's so much work to do, right? And it is this premise that the CHED 11, in partnership with the experts in the fields who volunteered to share their expertise as resource person, we are conducting series of webinars on relevant topics. So today's webinar entitled What I Am Feeling, Understanding and Coping with Emotional During the Pandemic is just one of the many topics that we thought of as important because of the many challenges brought about by this pandemic. But to tell you honestly, meron kasi kaming na-receive na letter from the, siguro mga few faculty members kung ano na daw nila gawin, no, with this crisis. So they are at quandary daw kung hindi na nila malaman kung anong gagawin nila. So that's why we asked them, sir, can you contact if we can hold, no, something about emotions, no, of the faculty, what they should do with this in times of crisis. So again, thank you to our resource person, Dr. Gail Ilagan, for sharing your time, thoughts, in expertise on very important topics. So good afternoon to all, and see you in the next series. Thank you po. Thank you. Rod, Kina? Wala yung sound si Kuya Rod. Naka-unmute siya, Rod.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Perez, for that closing remarks, and thank you also for the reminders about the new normal. So this is the new normal. Okay, so welcome to the new normal. So before we end, let me remind everyone about the certificate. We mentioned last time, in that we will be giving a certificate. Yes, we will be given a certificate, but you have to fill up first the evaluation form. So we will be sending you the link for the evaluation. After you signed up, after you finish the evaluation, then we will send you an electronic copy of your evaluation for this webinar. And just to share you, yung sabi ni Doc kanina, ni Doc Gail kanina na ano niya, link niya. So, sorry. Na-share ba? Okay, sorry. Ito yung ano ni Doc Gail.
Sir Gerson, this is our evaluation link.
Okay, so this is the link for the evaluation. So kindly take a picture of this link for the evaluation. So register to this one, and then this will require your email address. Then you will be sending the certificate to your email. Sir Rod, can I share the yung ano ni Doc Gail kanina? Ito. Nakita niyo na ba po? So this is the email ad of Dr. Ilagan. If you wish to contact Dr. Ilagan and the services of Davao-based Ateneo, Davao-based Psychologist, which is headed by the Ateneo de Davao. So kindly take a picture and contact us. Okay. So to end, let me just share this slide. Okay. We are now down to end of our session. Let me just share this one quote. Our emotions need to be as educated as our intellect. It is important to know how to feel, how to respond, and how to let light show in so that it can touch you. So our emotion is very important, but we just have to be mindful that our emotion at times clouded our rationality. So we just really have to be aware and not directly respond to our emotion. So thank you very much, and I hope we've learned something. And this has been Gerson, and it's my pleasure to be with you. Good afternoon.
Sir Gerson, can we have a gallery picture?
Yes. Yes, sir. Sure. So let's have a picture for... Okay. Sige. So kindly give us a thumbs up if you are doing well. Hi. Okay. So this is the picture. See you for the next webinar session. CHED will be sending some flyers also via online for the new new webinar. So kindly tune in. Okay na, Sir Rod?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, Dr. Cesar. Thank you po, Dr. Casquejo, for this invitation sa Davao Bay Psychologist.
Thank you, Dr. Gail. Thank you, Sir Gerson. Thank you, Ma'am Lemon.
Thank you, everyone. Shout out from Miss Pisares. Hi, ma'am. From Holy Cross.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Palero from PWC. We do have also seen Miss... Yan. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for coming.